Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I'm Asana Kaetano. Good morning.
Good morning and thank you for having us in your home this bright Monday morning.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be co-hosting with you this morning.
It's our first time.
Yes, it's our first time. And I feel like I've been away from the set for quite some time. Most of last month, I was out on assignment or other things came up that, I wasn't as dedicated to my Monday mornings as I should have been, right? So I pledged to myself that this entire month of April, I'll be on the set with you as well.
So yeah, see me every Monday.
April.
I may avoid it. But yes, it's good to have you in studio with us. And like I said, we've not hosted before, so I think that we should strike up a good conversation today.
There we go. Yes. So how was your weekend?
I did a little bit of local tourism. I went back to my second home in Keycocker, and as you know, there was a little bit of an incident at home.
I heard a golf cart went up in flames, stolen golf cart?
A stolen golf cart went up in flames right in front of my home.
Wow.
Yes.
Must have been quite an interesting thing to wake up to in the morning.
It was. We woke up when the back tires popped, and by the time we got out there, it was almost all the way charred to the ground. It was still burning, and then the fire went up, and we tried our best to water it with the hose, and the fire truck came and tried its best to take it out. By the time it was already like completely in rubbles.
Wow.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, because I know that April 1st, which was Friday, the country kind of breathed this collective sigh of relief in terms of, being able to return to the nightclubs and bars for people who love that kind of entertainment and the nightlife. What was it like out on Keycocker this weekend?
Honestly, it was not as, well, maybe because when I go out there, I don't really go out.
Like socialize.
But from what I've experienced, it's quite tamed compared to when the first regulations started to come down.
Yeah.
So before that, it was like people were going out and going wild and crazy. The mask mandate is still definitely a thing for public transportation. So people have to have their mask on. I think that even when the pandemic was in full effect, people were still not doing social distancing on public transportation. But we were packed in there like sardines.
Well, it's fairly difficult for there to be that kind of social distance inside a boat or on a bus.
Yes.
When you're looking at what the economic expense that's associated with public transportation is, right? I think when bus owners or boat owners, they look at the cost-benefit analysis, so to speak, right? The number of heads in the vessel versus the cost of fuel and that sort of stuff. It has to be feasible.
I was just telling that to John on Friday that regardless of the new regulation that's going to come up with the bus association, transportation prices were going up during the pandemic. And I could tell you what the boat cost before pandemic, during, and well, I'm not going to say post, but up to now. And there has been at least, I'm going to say, a good $10 in increase in boat fare.
Yeah. So this Easter is going to be a rather interesting one because you expect, there is the anticipation that a lot of people are going to be traveling, so they're going to have to incur the increase in the cost of, either airfare, bus fare or, traveling by sea.
It's one of those, I want to say they're bittersweet moments because I think for the pandemic, in the pandemic itself, local tourism was what was keeping our country afloat.
Yeah.
People were traveling, there were certain rates that were going down, and hotels were giving special rates to Belizeans, and so forth. And regardless of the cost of public transportation, people were still trying to go out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know, I think that they're no longer going to be offering
Yeah,
rates
those
for
kind of steep
Belizeans.
discounts for Belizeans.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and with the state of our economy, I don't know how we're going to be able to keep local tourism alive. And
Yeah.
the thing that I feared the most about when the borders were opening was that we would just flood to the borders because it would be cheaper, thus putting us in the same situation where we were right before the pandemic started.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we have? We have the weather?
Yeah. So we're going to go into our eye
Oh,
opener.
eye opener. All right.
Yes. You haven't been with us for some time, Asani.
I'm forgetting how this thing works when I'm getting old.
Well, let's go into some motivation for today. And our daily eye opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes a little something like this. When we undermine our light by hiding our aptitudes and quashing our dreams, we deny ourselves and others a wealth of experiences. We are each born into this world with unique gifts. Within us is a glimmer of the divine, a light that can potentially make the world a more beautiful place. But in many, the light lies dormant, snuffed out by fears and feelings of inadequacy. To spark it is to attract attention, face the possibility of rejection or the responsibility of success, and risk being labeled immodest. Your abilities are a part of who you are, and when you take pride in them, you affirm the love, esteem, and trust with which you view yourself. Moreover, you express the light within. You grant others permission to do the same, freeing them to explore their own talents. The gifts you were born with were not granted to you arbitrarily. While you may never discover what impact your light has had on others, you can be certain that when you embrace your talents and share them with others, you will spread illumination in the world. Sani, tell me what you think.
All right, so as the eye opener rightly says, everyone is born with a unique gift or a set of gifts, because you have some people who are multi-talented, right? And more often than not, what you find is that people don't really allow themselves to flourish to where their talents or their gifts are on full display.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, some people are not comfortable showing the world what they're capable of doing, right? And so it's very much subdued in terms of how they go about, putting their talents out there or sharing their talents with the world. They kind of keep a lid on it. Personally, like for me, and I like to draw on my own personal experiences in order to be able to, make a point in terms of responding to the eye opener. For me, when I found out very early that, one of my natural talents was writing and presenting, I said, okay, fine, you know what? This isn't something that I'm gonna just keep to myself. I don't want to be the anonymous writer, I want to be able to, put my skill out there and be able to own it, right? And that comes with a certain degree of confidence, right? You have to be able to be confident in yourself and in your abilities to be able to put that out there and have the light shine on it.
Yeah.
And so going back to the eye opener, when you're able to accept that you have a certain talent or a gift that you're prepared to share with the world, it also allows you to be able to accept other people's talents and gifts that they bring to the table. And I think from a universal point of view, it allows for acceptance, to see where people are different and to see where their strengths and weaknesses are. Because that's ultimately what talents boil down to, right? What you're strong at, what you're naturally gifted at doing versus the other things that may be, a hindrance or maybe not necessarily a hindrance, but other things that kind of, slow you down a bit in terms of learning or moving fast enough.
I like that. I like that. In order for you to share, you have to be able to have that confidence and your love for yourself and your talents before you're able to have others appreciate it. I like that.
There you go.
Thank you. See, you get the hang of it. And that is, we move on to our weather forecast for this morning. And we have with us on the line Mr. Derek Rudon. Good morning, Mr. Derek. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine. How are you all?
Doing well. I hope you want to tell me that this heat can keep going.
It will keep going, you mean remaining over us?
Yes.
Yes, it will.
Awesome. Tell us the general situation for today.
Okay. Seasonally warm and dry conditions prevail over the region, and so for the next few days we can expect this kind of weather, warm or hot and dry.
Okay. And the winds?
Okay. So we expect little or no rain today. Winds from the east to southeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the sea stays choppy.
Okay. And the temperatures?
Temperatures today, highs, we are expecting 87 along the coast, 94 inland, and 82 up in the mountains. For tonight, we're expecting 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 inland, and 66 up in the mountains.
So you'd rather be in the hills right now?
Right, if you want it to be cooler.
Yeah. And can you give us the outlook for tomorrow and tomorrow night?
Okay, for tomorrow and tomorrow night, similar weather. That's mainly fair and warm weather.
Okay. How about our fire forecast?
Okay, so with the dry conditions prevailing, the risk for forest and brush fires is high for today. So be careful when you throw that cigarette or that. Be sure to put out that fire.
All right.
Good if you're in the wooded area.
All right. Any advice for our viewers during this heat?
Well, just to try to stay out of the direct sun as much as possible and drink a lot of water.
Awesome. You too, Mr. Rudon, you have to stay hydrated.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You're welcome, and same to you.
All right, there you have it from our friends from the National Meteorological Service of Belize. Stay hydrated, people.
You know what's the irony? Is that this time of year, while the Met Service is saying that perhaps it's cooler up in the hills, most people are flocking to the coastal areas, right?
Yes. And I always have to look at this weather closely, because every time they say 94 inland, it's about a good 100 and something degrees in Belmopan.
Yeah, it's often pretty warm, for want of a better expression.
Yes. But let's move on.
Yes, we go to our Eye on the News segment, and we have a primary discussion that we'll share with our viewers this morning. So we go to the Eye on the News. All right, so at the end of last week, we reported on a letter that was sent to the leader of the opposition, who made an appearance on a talk show mid last week. I believe it was on Wednesday night. And the letter demands, on behalf of the Prime Minister of Belize, a retraction of certain statements that were being made by the leader of the opposition on that platform. Right? So there is a demand for a public retraction of what was said, for as long as those comments were in the public space. I say public space to include social media, to include YouTube, as well as the television broadcast itself.
Right.
Right? I think a few things come out of this in my mind. There was legislation that was passed fairly recently that deals with the issue of defamation, because essentially this is what that is.
Yes.
The fact that the comments that were made tarnishes the reputation of the leader of government, the prime minister, right? And so that's the first thing, and then we'll flesh that out a little bit. The other thing is the leader of the opposition was only a few days into his post as the party leader of the UDP, and this is what they're faced with at present, right? What they are seeking in terms of damages based on the comments that were uttered by Mr. Barrow is a hefty sum, to say the least.
Yes.
I think it's arguably going to be the biggest payout for an infraction of this nature, right? And so it's quite a lot to take in a certain sense, because it goes back to our responsibility in the media, right? Where there are certain principles that should be upheld in terms of the way we go about, broadcasting, the way we go about publishing, the way we go about disseminating information that is sensitive, right? And it's not to say that perhaps there wasn't an attempt made on the part of the host of the talk show. I won't comment on whether or not what was done to distance oneself from the comments that were made was sufficient. That's not my place. But I'm simply saying that in the round, there are certain principles that we have to uphold that are far within our scope of responsibilities.
I'm very new to media. As I'm still learning how it works. But I guess, would you say then that there is ethics in the media? And then, are there boundaries? Are there lines that you shouldn't cross?
Yeah, well, the
as
thing
a
is,
reporter, as a journalist.
yeah, well, there are a number of ethical considerations that come to play when you're dealing with public information, in the sense that you're broadcasting or publishing something, right?
Right.
So one has to be able to actually realize what those responsibilities are in terms of the ethical considerations that I'm speaking to, and being able to either stick to them or execute them properly, right? Again, I'm not saying that that wasn't exercised on the part of the host, but when you allow someone to go off on a tangent and say things, impute certain things that damages or tarnishes someone's reputation, then you're on the hook.
Yeah.
Right?
When it comes to the interview itself, and the statements that were made by Mr. Barrow, it's not the first time that we're seeing this kind of attitude within our politics. Our political culture in Belize is a little childish, to say the least, and that's just my opinion, right? Everybody has their own, but I am somebody that I stopped listening to House meetings because they generally just pick on each other and accuse each other and call each other names, and I'm sitting in my car or listening to the radio wondering if these are the people that we elected to lead our country. And so when it comes to the statements that were made by Mr. Barrow, I guess if I were to put myself in his shoes, this is ordinary.
Par for the course, as
right?
one would say, right?
So now that you rightfully mentioned this new legislation has been put into place, I would wonder now how difficult it would be for them to behave themselves. Yes, behave themselves in the public eye and behind closed doors, because it's clear that the party in power is serious about implementing this legislation.
Well, there are two things that you also have to take in mind, right? There is parliamentary immunity for certain language or certain things that one may say in the House versus when you're actually saying it
Public.
in public in another space. And so perhaps if this was shared in the House, it would have been dealt with differently based on those immunities
Right.
versus seeing it on another platform where,
But
you know,
see, that's
the gloves
again,
are off and so you can be dealt with accordingly.
But you see, again, that's the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are only putting certain rules in place for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to implement this, you have to implement it across board. And that's just, again, my opinion, because if you can't help yourself, they're like when you go to school and you act a certain way and then you go
Mm-hmm.
home and you have to switch that behavior because there's certain rules in one place and then there's certain rules in another. It doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not crediting anything or making any light comments on what was said, because you shouldn't talk that way about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that it would be difficult now to change your culture, because this has been the political culture in Belize from since we start,
Yeah.
right? So I would wonder what his response would be.
Well, the letter points to the fact that there are 2 days within which this retraction must be made on the very same platforms on which they were initially, the offensive comments were initially made, right? So I don't know that Mr. Barrow is in receipt of the letter as yet. And if that were so, then it would be 2 days within that time that he would have to come forward publicly and rescind on the comments that were made last Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think for the news value aspect of it, that's what we're going to be waiting to see. You know, what the response is and how this will be handled from the point of view of the leader of the United Democratic Party. So I think that's the first and the primary conversation that I wanted to have this morning, to kind of, you know, put some perspective and bring that into context in terms of what took place there. The other thing, you touched on it earlier as well, and so I'll kind of expand on it at this point. So during the full thrust of the pandemic, in order to spur local economic activity, the Hotel Association allowed for discounts and certain privileges to be given to Belizeans who wish to travel across the country and enjoy some of the destinations that the outsiders would, in a manner of speaking. And so because of the current economic situation and the fact that we're recovering and we're moving in a particular direction, they have since decided that they will remove those privileges and the discounts and all of these other things, right? And so it's curious because 2 things. It comes right around the Easter time, when Belizeans, for the most part, are planning or have already booked, you know, their hotel stay, either at Hopkins, Placentia, or wherever they choose to go. They've already, you know, kind of have their mind on, okay, well, this is what I'll be doing for that extended weekend, and this is my budget and what have you. Perhaps based on last year's figures, right, so to speak. And so to be faced with this decision at this juncture to remove those discounts and privileges, it's also going to be interesting to see how people respond to it. You know, does that now prompt people to say, well, you know what, let me go to Chetumal or Cancun instead, as opposed to, you know, traveling within the country and spending those monies internally?
I have feelings about it. I was kind of upset because I think that for the past year or so, and just with my organization, we have advocated so much for appreciation of Belize and Belizean culture and local tourism, and just trying to keep it at home, right, for Belizeans to have that appreciation. And now it's, you know, like I said, local tourism was what kept tourism alive in this country during the pandemic, or still, and to just kind of take it away knowing full well that the economy is this way right now, knowing full well that gas prices are increasing, knowing full well that nobody's wages are increasing. You know, people are still with a cut. People are no longer receiving increment. People are taking forever to get their pension right now because of all of the economic problems. And I find it, I don't know, I think that we should have had that appreciation for local tourism. And now because your American tourists and your international tourists are coming, now all of a sudden you want to go back to the way things were. And I don't know if you learned your lesson yet, but that you should at least have that appreciation for your Belizean tourists. You know, we don't travel. I had some friends that are from different corners of the country where they never stepped out of their towns and villages until they were able to afford certain prices in certain areas, and they're like, wow, you know, I didn't know that the beaches in Hopkins could be this beautiful, or the jungles in the Mountain Pine Ridge were this beautiful. And it makes you wonder why these decisions are being made. Like, it almost feels like a cosmic joke.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. So, but to conclude our Eye on the News segment this morning, these are the topics that we'll be discussing in the newscast at 6 o'clock, right? Again, along with all the other happenings that took place over the weekend, you can catch these stories and more at 6 p.m. Our content is going to be streamed on Facebook and YouTube, and of course you can catch it live on 5.
Well, before we run off to our rundown for the day, what did you think about the mermaid episode? Did you enjoy your All Fools prank by Sabrina?
I'll be honest with you, right? I already knew beforehand.
Oh, okay. Well, then it never worked.
Yeah, it's not something that would have caught me off guard. And even if I was not aware of this April Fool's joke, no pun intended, even if I wasn't aware of it, I know that the existence of mermaids has been something questionable from time immemorial. So I wouldn't. You know, it's not something that I would say, yes, it is true, or no, it's not.
I just find it funny because of the close to Easter
timing,
because I don't know if you've ever heard that, right? But in our
if
culture,
you go to swim,
you go swim on Good Friday, you turn into a mermaid, so everybody just avoid water altogether.
I think, April, that is a storyline that is being told year on end because we want people to be careful and safe how they go about. And I'm glad you brought that up because I could use this opportunity now to remind people of water safety and these other, you know, requirements when you're at the river, you're at the sea, you're going to the pool or what have you. All right, so it is up to you to remain safe. If you know you cannot swim, don't get in the water. Don't get in the water beyond what you can handle in terms of being able to walk in and walk out. Right? And you should not be drinking and then tell yourself you're going to go take a swim. That's not going to work. Right? And you have to also be hydrated because a lot of times people don't drink enough water.
Yeah, they go swimming.
They go swimming, you catch a cramp, you're going to have issues in the water.
Right? I never thought about it that way in terms of safety. I just used to think that my granny just want to scare me and no one going to.
I think, like I said, I mean, the takeaway for me from that, you know, as a child when I heard those stories, I said, okay, it's because a lot of people drown over that weekend.
That's very true. You're absolutely.
When you, I guess, again from a reporting standpoint, when we return to work on the Tuesday after Easter, the number of persons who either die from road traffic fatalities or persons who drown, you know, who either go to the river, go to sea, or what have you, those numbers are up. All right. So again, it's just for us to remind our viewers, the Belizean public, that you need to be very, very careful how you go about, you know, enjoying your Easter weekend, if that's the case. And that's because Easter is all the way to next weekend. But, you know, it makes sense for us to start.
It's good to start reminding people.
Yes.
It's good to start reminding people. Okay,
all right,
well.
So that concludes our Eye on the News this morning.
right, and then we move on into our show and our rundown. We have two very, very good conversations for this morning. We'll start off with the Minister of Health and Wellness will be speaking to us about the new SIs and to explain what is allowed and what is still restricted, because some people still have a lot of questions, especially people that are trying to travel right now.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to be our first conversation with the Minister of Health and Wellness, as April rightly mentioned. Our second conversation of the day is to look at financial literacy for primary school students. So we're going to be joined by a representative from the United States Embassy, as well as someone from the Peace Work Belize to discuss financial literacy for primary school students.
Oh, that's so good. I wish somebody might teach me back in that day.
All right, so before we take our first commercial break, we have a birthday shout out.
We do. We have a birthday shout out for our long-standing fan. Happy birthday to Ms. Loida Johnson from all of us here at Channel 5. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday filled with lots of love and blessings today.
All right, so with that said, we go to our first commercial break, and when we return, it's to have our first discussion with Mr. Minister Bernard Wagner.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the Split the Bill button where he selects the Evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
Together we can stop the violence by being responsible and respectful partners and fathers in the future.
I will take responsibility to respect women and girls and hold other young men accountable who use hurtful behavior and speech.
Toxic masculinity traits and harmful social norms about how men should behave contributes to gender inequality and violence and fear that women and girls face.
I realized that gender-based violence is a problem that will never end until all boys and men work to end it by resolving conflicts without violence.
We all have a responsibility, and that is why we encourage others to spread this message, to commit to advancing gender equality and to end gender-based violence.
I commit.
I commit.
I commit.
I commit
I commit
to make changes to end
violence
violence
in my life
elsewhere.
and elsewhere.
Together we can stop the violence.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And welcome back. We begin our first conversation this morning with the Minister of Health and Wellness, Kevin Bernard, who joins us virtually. Good morning, Minister Bernard.
Good morning.
Good morning, April, and good morning, Isani. Thank you for having me, and of course, good morning to all of Belizeans and all those viewers watching around the world over your social media platform. And of course, it's always important for us to be able to dialogue, and thank you for this opportunity.
Certainly. I want to begin, first of all, by asking you, what's your take on what has happened over the course of the weekend? I know with April 1st coming and the relaxation or the further relaxation of some of the regulations and restrictions that were in place, I believe that more people have been out, more people are moving around. What is your take on what has happened since April 1st?
Well, Isani, I think that it's been a while. Belizeans have been waiting for this moment. We had said from the very onset that as we go along, we were going to be looking at monitoring the whole issue with COVID and seeing that the numbers have been steadily going down and in a manageable manner. Cabinet felt that it was now time for us to remove all other restrictions, and so we started that process from in March, and then on April 1st, of course, then we removed all other restrictions except for those that we left there that pertains to the border and the exit and entry of into Belize, whether through land, sea, or by air. But I think that just let me say though,
Sure.
Sani, that generally, I think that despite the fact that we have done that, we still have Belizeans who are still doing their part, still maintaining their distance, still avoiding crowds, and some still wearing their masks. So that's an individual choice, and that's an individual responsibility. And this is why we said we needed to learn to live with COVID responsibly. And I hope that I've been out here in the diaspora visit, and so I haven't been able to really firsthand see what have been the movement in terms of people on the ground itself. But I think that for the most part, people are still generally cognizant and aware of the fact that the virus is still here, and that's our message to them, that the virus is still here. While it's very much at minimal level for Belize, and we feel that it is in a manageable position, we had to remove these restrictions.
There are still several questions, I think, coming from the public about the lifting of certain regulations, especially for those that are traveling. Can you please highlight some of the restrictions that have been lifted for international traveling, whether it be about vaccination and testing? Just brief us a little bit about how that is working. I know for a fact that everybody's trying to get out and also trying to come in, and so just some clarification, please, on those new regulations.
Well, definitely. In fact, the traveling, the border restrictions from the previous SI in March, when we made the first amendment, the first removal of some restrictions, the specific ones that deal with border entry and exit has to do with one. Let me talk about the tourists first. Foreigners. Foreigners coming into the country of Belize, whether through by land, whether through air, whether through sea. They must provide proof of immunization, meaning in this case being they have to provide the evidence that they have been vaccinated. So you can come in as a tourist, whether you are vaccinated or not. But if you are not vaccinated, or wherever you come in, you're vaccinated, all you need to do is provide a proof of vaccination. If you are not vaccinated, however, and you're a foreign tourist, and you're coming in through either either ports, land, air, or sea, then you must provide a rapid test within 48 hours or a PCR test that was taken within 72 hours of your flight. So that is for foreign tourists. Belizeans now going out of the country, exiting the country, as it applies to Belizeans, with over the years of 12 and above, you must be vaccinated. We felt that we needed to keep that restriction in place for a few more time. When we consulted, we felt that it was important to keep that restriction. One, because as you know, we are slowly rebounding as well. But at the same time, we want to encourage our Belizeans. We want to encourage our Belizeans that we need for our people and more of our people to get vaccinated. We don't have the vaccinations as yet in hand for ages 5 to 11, the pediatric vaccines. We are working arduously on getting those in country. I know through the discussions with our people at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and in discussion with Minister Courtney, we have been making very much great progress. I must say that we're just awaiting final responses from the UK, from the EU, and I believe in Spain. We have had commitments coming from those 3 areas to provide Belize with the pediatric vaccines. Now, before March 1st, I think, and this is what sometimes people are a bit confused, Belizeans leaving and coming back, there was the condition at the time where once you had exited the country or coming in after 72 hours, they had at the time requested that you had to test. That restrictions were lifted from March 1st. We removed that requirement for Belizeans coming back in after a long stay. They no longer need to be tested. And likewise, I want to make it absolutely clear, because there's still some confusions, and this is one reason why we removed those specific and highlighted specifically in the SI that for ages 5 to 11, children ages 5 to 11 can exit the border, because we don't have the vaccines in country. So despite that they are unvaccinated, they can leave. These are children, and so they are traveling along with their parents who would generally be vaccinated, and so we did not want to put that restriction, not to allow.
Sorry to cut you off, Minister. Can you please repeat that for me? We seem to have had a little bit of a disconnect just a minute ago.
Yes, sorry. What I was saying that in terms of Belizeans, 5 years and or 11 years and below, it doesn't matter. We don't have vaccines for 5 to 11 because we don't vaccinate people under 5. And so children within those age range are allowed to leave the country along with their parents. Of course, they cannot leave the country without an adult. But so they're allowed to leave the country. Coming back in, as I said, before March 1st, there were restrictions as in terms of them coming in after a long stay, after a 3-night stay. Initially, it was after 24 hours. Then we made the amendment after 36 hours. And then we completely removed that restriction, where they were asking when they come in back that they were needing to take a test at the border. that completely was removed. And so Belizeans can go over, stay for a week in Cancun if they so like. Of course, we want our Belizeans to keep at home and celebrate your country, but that is their personal choice. I'm just saying that as an individual. But there's no longer a requirement for Belizeans who stay more than 3 days to be tested at the border. That restriction have now been lifted.
Let me ask you a broader question here, Minister. How careful are we in terms of the message we are sending out to the public with the further relaxation of certain restrictions against the fact that there is a potential for another wave of infections?
Well, Isani and April, what is important to understand, and as I mentioned, this is really a personal. It now becomes a personal choice. It now becomes, you know, it is up to me. It is up to you. And I think we have been doing. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, the government has done its part by making sure that there's vaccine in country. Now, what we need to do is continuously remind our Belizean people that yes, while we are removing these restrictions, we must be aware that COVID is still here. We cannot lose sight of that, and we cannot turn a blind eye to it. We can't let the guards down. So I always, and our Ministry of Health and Wellness is saying, we continue to encourage our Belizean people. Do what is responsible of you to protect yourselves, to protect your families, to protect your loved ones, and to protect those you care about. And I say this because, Isani, for example, I've always said, if I'm out there, I wear my mask. If I'm indoor, I still wear my mask because I'm protecting not only myself, I'm protecting my daughter who has not been able to be vaccinated. I'm protecting my elderly parents, my elderly, my in-laws who are also of age. But at the end of the day, we're protecting those we care about. And so we want to encourage Belizeans to understand this. And if you feel that you don't want to be out in crowds, then don't. It is now a personal choice. It's now up to you. And that's one of the reasons why we felt it was time that we were able to remove. It's a good time to remove the restrictions because our numbers are very low. And then some of this responsibility now shift to the individual. We have to learn to live with COVID-19.
My other follow-up question, now that we're discussing that, so the National Agriculture and Trade Show resumes this year, and naturally people are also expecting that Carnival will also be back on stream, along with all these other public events. Yes. Is there any consideration for any spread or any outbreak of infections with these public events coming up?
There's always, at the Ministry of Health and Wellness, of course, our team of technical persons and doctors are always worried that any such major gathering can contribute to a spread. I will say this, and I repeat this. When we had the Ruta Maya, there were concerns. When we had the Spanish Lookout Business Expo, there were concerns. These individuals came and worked along with our ministry, set out certain guidelines. And this is one of the reasons why I said again, and I keep repeating, it is a responsibility of individuals. Organizers can have as much preparation put in place, but if Belizeans don't adhere to these things, then that's where we can end up in situations. Now, it is a known fact that the virus spreads from person to person. And so if you are around crowds, there's a possibility it can happen. There's a possibility that there can be a spread. And we must always be prepared for those things. We must always be ready to ensure that that as a ministry, we are prepared. I think over the past 2+ years, our frontline workers have done a phenomenal job working the front of this pandemic, working additional hours, putting a strain on them and as an individual. You know, many nurses and doctors had to work, barely see their family. And so I'm asking and pleading to the Belizean people, continue to be responsible, because you have to also think about those who had to toil, who had to put their life at the front in fighting this pandemic for the benefit of our country. And so while the National Agriculture Show is coming up on pretty soon, we have to understand that we need to open up a bit. We need to free up our country. Activities have to start to get back to a level of normalcy, which we are trying to ensure that happens. But we must be responsible.
That leads me to another question then, Ministers. When it came to making the decision to let up certain restrictions and so forth, what do you say then to Belizeans who don't want to get vaccinated? Our vaccination rate is still pretty low compared to other countries. What do you say to those that are like, well, the country they open up, but I don't need to get no vaccine, everybody's good, thing done. What do you say to that?
Well, I want to encourage, let me say this, and I always use this figure, 317 Belizeans died during this pandemic who had no access to a vaccine. We did not have the vaccines at the time, and we lost 317 Belizeans. I am pretty sure that if we had the vaccine in hand from the very onset of the pandemic, we wouldn't have lost so much out of that 317 Belizeans. I say this to drive home the point. Government has invested in thousands upon thousands of vaccines. We still have over 240-something thousand vaccines in hand. And I'm encouraging Belizeans to go out and get vaccinated. But let me also say this though, April, while you mentioned that we may not be as high as some other countries, I think in the region, we are one of the best countries in terms of level of vaccination. When you look at Jamaica at a very low vaccination rate, another countries within the same region, Belize, let me just point out the data quickly. We, at a first dose, based on the last data I had, we were at 50.09%. We have reached the 50% mark with persons with one dose. With persons with the two dose, we were at about almost 49%. And I believe that with the recent figures that we got, we should jump the 50% mark with people completely, with what we call fully vaccinated, because the booster is just another persons who want to get that booster. Okay. But when you look at the target population was 12 years and above, because we don't have the pediatric vaccines. We are at almost 70% of our population from the targeted population that have been fully vaccinated. And so we have been doing great as a Belizean, as a country, in terms of the uptake. Across the world, there has been that issue. And I think that I must commend Dr. Baer. I must commend our frontline workers and all those volunteers who came out and assisted the ministry, and all those field works, all those visits, all those mobile clinics, everybody that said, you know, I'm roll up my sleeves and I'm going to fight this pandemic head on, and we are going to work together to ensure that Belizean people, and of course the Belizean people who took the vaccine. We must do our part. We must understand that there are still a vulnerable population among us. So let us do that to protect our elderly. Let us do that to protect those who have major illness. Let us protect our young who are at this point in time still unable to be vaccinated because we don't have access to the pediatric vaccines. And so I want to encourage those who are still hesitant to get vaccinated. Vaccination saves lives. We have seen that. And so we need to make sure that we continue. And this one, a reason on April and Isani, that Dr. Baer and her team, we are now, what we have done, we've now taken all those persons who are COVID enforcers, who are working at the mobile sites, to go out into and work very hard we are going to be pushing a very vigorous campaign drive on the ground, house to house, trying to reach out to those same individuals who have not been vaccinated and encourage them to be vaccinated. I am very sure that whenever we get the pediatric vaccines in country and the campaign that we're going to put forward, working with the Ministry of Education, working with the parents, we are going to be able to achieve even more persons with the vaccines within that time period that we're expecting to get these vaccines. So I'm very optimistic. I have faith in our Belizean people. As I said here over the past 2 days that we've been visiting our Belizean in diaspora, and thanks to them too, who have also made significant contributions back home. Belizean on a whole, we are a resilient people. And I must give thanks to God for all those as well, Belizeans who continue to do their part. And of course, I encourage everybody else who have not been vaccinated to get vaccinated.
Well, with that said, then Minister, can you then expand a little bit more on the regulations for nightclubs, indoor activities, and so forth? Because when we talk about vaccines, and this was a question that I had provided for, I think the board members that did the Spanish Expo, about do people have to be vaccinated when they come to the Expo and so forth. So what are the new guidelines for indoor activities for people that are opening up bars again, nightclubs, casinos, and so forth?
Well, there's no more restrictions as it relates to those indoor events, outdoor events. We removed the entire mask mandate. Now, let me say this, however, we got very clear here. For example, if you as an individual business so choose that your policy now remains that you must wear a mask when you visit my establishment, that's a policy of the establishment.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's no longer a mandated requirement. For example, in the bank, let me just use a simple example. In the banks, when you go to the bank, there's no law that says you can't wear your shades in the bank. But the bank has a policy. There are banks who have a policy, you cannot come into the bank with shades on. So that's an internal policy of the bank. And likewise, an establishment, a hospital, a medical facility, or any person, any institution can set their own regulation, their own rules for their business. So if a business owner say, I believe, or they have set their own policy, you know what, we are going to continue our own protocols in the controlling of the spread of the virus, and we will not allow persons in the store without a mask on. That's the choice of that business establishment. It's a matter of policy now. Likewise, in the Ministry of Education, when we launched this, the question was, what about the children? The Ministry of Health and Wellness also felt that we must encourage the younger population to continue to wear the mask, right? But it was not being mandated by the SI. So when we spoke to the Ministry of Education, they responded that they will continue. They will ask their managers, the school managers, to continue follow the protocols within the school system, especially for our younger population who have not been able to have access to the pediatric vaccine, and they are doing that. And of course, I say this: if you go to a location or an event and you feel that you're not safe, then wear a mask. If you so want to wear a mask, wear a mask. So these are things that I wanted to just make that one clarification there, April, in terms of the mandate. Now, let me just also say what also was one of the things that we said in terms of the restriction. So in terms of the tourists coming in, going out, Belizeans exiting, and all the other restrictions that had to be lifted. So in terms of the clubs, the bars, the concerts, there's no restriction that exists by the SI or by the public health regulations that we COVID. There's no longer those restrictions.
Well, then that leads me then to wonder or to think, what are the future preparedness for the ministry moving forward? Isani and I were just talking about, let's not go back to the way we were in terms of certain attitudes towards pandemic. So what is the ministry now doing in terms of preparedness if in case we're to have another wave? Because like all other doctors have been reminding us, it is not over.
One of the things that the Ministry of Health and Wellness is very cognizant of, and we have said this very publicly, that COVID is still here. And should we have any outbreak, any major issue, we will come back to cabinet. We will go back to cabinet and make certain recommendations. Now, I can tell you this, that I don't believe that we are going to go that drastic to a stage unless it really needs to, where we have to lock down our country. We cannot afford to do that. We cannot afford, we're just rebounding. Our Belizean people, many of those who lost their job are finally getting back a job. Some are still trying to get back a job. And so we need to look at all those factors as well. But at the same time, April, we at the ministry, we have looked at what has happened. We have looked, we have seen the experience, and I think for the most part, we have a great team of doctors and nurses who are ready and prepared should there be any outbreak. Now, remember, I'm speaking at the public health sector, but there's also people in the private sector who have even gone beyond many of the work in preparing, in making sure that they assist during this whole pandemic. And so I believe that should there be the need for any changes, we're going to make sure that it's also changes that we'll see. Of course, we have to look at the numbers. We have to look at what is happening around us. I just got information yesterday that there's another subvariant somewhere in the UK identified, and there are still studies being done about that. There have been variants popping up all over, BA1, BA2, and we have seen where in some countries it's taken a spike, but it has also been quickly dissipating. So we have to monitor what is happening around us, yes, but we must be prepared. And that's why I keep saying this. I use the fact that in Belize, while many other countries are still suffering from COVID, in Belize, we have done what we believe was right in the control and spread of this virus. We are down to 202 cases as of the Friday. That shows that we are doing great.
Yeah.
As a country, we did not do what the US did. We did not do what Mexico did. We did not do what the Bahamas did. We did Belize. And our team of doctors and nurses, including government, made these tough decisions that saw lockdown, curfew, many restrictions. And it worked for Belize. And I think we have given and shown to our region and to the world that we have capable people. We have right-thinking Belizeans that can make the right decision. And we have Belizeans, for the most part, who had been following the regulations. And I want to encourage Belizeans to continue to do so. Continue to be responsible. Continue to adhere to your own set of rules now, because it's now your responsibility to control this.
Let me go in a slightly different direction for a few minutes here. So we have a trifecta of medical officers who have taken up certain posts. This was after the Director of Health Services post had been dissolved. Let's talk firstly about the composition of this particular trifecta in terms of Dr. Manzanero's role, Dr. Musa's role, and the third role for the other office here. Speak to us a bit about that.
Well, we are still in the final process. Let me just clarify that while the interviews and the approvals have been done, we're still just waiting for one final process to be completed. When the entire DHS post was removed and separated into 3 different functions. Now remember, running a ministry isn't easy, and one person cannot make all the decisions. Let me say this absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I felt that we saw the need that was there to split the work and put the direction and where we want to go as a ministry. Now, that was changed into a Director of Hospital Services and Allied Health, a Director of Public Health and Wellness. So you will have a director that will focus on hospital services and allied health and push that direction. We have a director who will focus on the public health section of the work of the health system, and of course the wellness side. And then we have Dr. Manzanero, who will function as the Director of International Cooperation. There's a lot of work we do with partners, with Comisca, with other agents, PAHO, UNDP. Great work. And so we need also somebody that could direct the whole process, so Dr. Manzanero will play a very important role in all of this. Dr. Musa, as you well know, is the person who went through the interview, got the approval by the commission, and we're just waiting for that final. I believe we should be getting that pretty soon. And I can tell you this, and I know she's a very humble lady, and every time I get the opportunity, I say it, and sometimes I might get myself into trouble, but I believe that Dr. Musa has done a splendid job. She was put at the forefront of this pandemic to lead the initiatives of the work of the ministry, and she did an exemplary job. In fact, when you speak to people within the Central Region, you hear of the level and caliber of commitment that Dr. Musa brings to this ministry, to her work, the passion she has. And so I must say this, that I fully support the fact that we have Dr. Musa that will be leading the public health and wellness section. And Dr. I think it's Jorge Polanco. I keep forgetting, I keep confusing Julio or Jorge. We have Dr. Polanco, who has, again, another wealth of experience. He was the Director of Health Services before, served as the Deputy Director of Health Services, has had international work with international partners. I know he worked with PAHO. So he brings great knowledge and expertise to the team. And so when you put all that together, and of course with the ministry lead, myself and Dr. Sabido and all the technical people, I think we have a great team. And I think that is where our focus is. COVID had taken all the front line approaches. We now need to focus on mental health. We now need to put aggressive campaign on addressing the issue of nutrition in this country. We now need to focus on the wellness side of our ministry. While a lot of these things were being addressed, COVID took prevalence. we have to focus on HIV. That's still something affecting our country. The NCDs, diabetes, cancer, you know, all of these things are still there. And so our focus is on that. Our focus has to be on how we're going to ensure that there's a better, improved support for mental health patients, for mental health on a whole, because it's not just the persons who are ill mentally, but it's to focus on all the stresses, all the effects of COVID had as well on in a mental state of on persons. So we need to be aggressive on that. We need to be able to support from a ministry standpoint. We need to ensure that we are addressing all of these issues head on and have the available resources to be able to provide support for those who are having these issues. And so that is the approach we are dealing. And I think that is where these very effective and good experienced doctors will be able to help the ministry in moving into the right direction. And that was one of the reasons when I asked the Legions, give me at least 3 months for us to be able to put a great team together. And we are now achieved that. And I think that you will all see great things coming out of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Like I said, we have great people working in the ministry, and I want to thank all of them. I mean, just being there for now 3 months, I have seen the commitment, the drive, the passion that these people have. And I keep saying to them, we're here to work together. I don't care what's your background religiously, by whatever race you have, whatever political perspective you have. We are here to push the agenda to ensure that we improve care for people, that we provide quality primary care for Belizean people, and as what our motto says, equal health for all. Let me take a word of the Prime Minister in his budget presentation, and I think very, very important to point out.
I'm glad you're going to go there because I have a follow-up question. Go ahead.
If we work together, and this is my motto too, if we work together as a Belizean, fairly, with inclusion, that's the only way we will have a prosperous Belize. And that is why I want to see at the ministry. And that is what I think these 3 persons and all the other technical people will bring to the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
All right, so let me ask you this then. April 1st, the new financial year began. The budget for the Ministry of Health and Wellness, do you believe that with these new changes in place and the fact that there seems to be a recession, so to speak, in the number of infections that we're experiencing, that the allocations for this financial year is sufficient for the work of the Ministry of Health and Wellness?
Let me say this. There is never enough. A budget, and I, coming from an accounting background, a budget is what it is, a budget. We need to be responsible enough to ensure that what we need to do falls within what we can afford. While in every ministry, there will always be need for more, to be able to do more, to be able to, our health infrastructure, physical infrastructure, is not where we want it to be. So if we are to invest really on the major infrastructure in this country of health, we will need more money. But that's why we are saying we also need to be able to look out and get support from others. So,
go ahead.
In relation to your question in terms of the budget, in saying that it will be sufficient enough, there will never be enough money, Isani, to run any ministry. But it is us as leaders, as finance officers, as CEO, as technical persons, to ensure we put where the priority areas are, to invest in the priority areas.
Audio there, Minister.
Are you hearing me?
We're not hearing you.
We're not hearing you, sorry.
I'm not sure. Yeah, are you hearing me now?
Okay, we're not
Okay,
hearing you,
we're not.
Minister. We have a break in the audio.
Just give us a few seconds to work.
All right, so yeah, just to
Yeah.
kind of go back to the discussion while we get the minister back online with his audio. I
Are you hearing me now?
with April 1st being the beginning of the fiscal year for 2022, and the idea that there is a projection as to how much money is going to be needed to run the affairs of the ministry against what we're seeing is a decline in numbers. I think people are looking at
Sani
that
and
to see
April, are you
whether
hearing me?
there is enough for there to be focus on other areas, because the minister was saying, okay, we're moving away from focusing solely on COVID-19 related issues versus now going back to the NCDs, going back to other infections, including HIV, that may have somewhat taken a back seat
Yeah.
to COVID, right? So that was the context of the question.
Yeah.
Because I think people are also looking to that now.
Right, and what we have learned about this pandemic is that it's not just about insufficient funds or not enough funds, but we also didn't have enough manpower, we didn't have enough resources. And so yes, when it came to finances, that's a huge problem, because you obviously need to pay workers, you need to buy resources, you need to buy equipment and so forth. But you know, when it comes to certain other diseases and so forth, I've realized that Belize has good diplomatic relations with not just other countries, but with various organizations,
Yeah.
which I think need to be discussed, right?
Yeah.
So yes, even though we talk about the SIs and the new mandates, and we talk about the new fiscal year, the finances that are going to be implemented, I think that there is a lot to say about how much help Belize has had during this time.
Yeah.
And I hope that we're able to keep those networks in place.
If we have the minister back online, perhaps he can speak to some of those partnerships in terms of the aid that has been given to Belize to fight this pandemic. Are you there with us, Minister?
Yeah, yes, Isani, I'm here. I understand I was being heard on the TV, so I'm not sure if it was.
All right, so we can't hear you.
It was on our end. Forgive us.
But definitely, I want to point out that you raised a very important thing there, and that was I was going to that. And when I said reason why we have to reach out to other partners, and we have been getting the support of our partners in development through PAHO, through UNDP. You know, we work very closely with PAHO in accessing quality medication at reasonable rates. We also get support through in terms of medical equipments. We have been able to work with IDB in support. The government has done a lot of work in investing in some of these things, but there's always more to do. And so, despite the fact that our budget, well, as it is, may never be enough, as I said, it boils down to being prudent. It boils down to being responsible. It boils down to making sure that we know where our priority areas are as a ministry and investing in those priorities. Our infrastructure, physical infrastructure of our health system needs and desires a lot. Just in the next few months, you will see where, again, working with our partners in the European Union and PAHO, where many of our regional facilities will now become smart health facilities. And this is a type of cooperation, international cooperation work that Dr. Marvin Manzanero will also be able to assist us with, and working together with our technical team. And so we have had great partners in development of our health across this country. There have been major studies done in Belize. In fact, there's an assessment report that has just come out that shares the experience of what is in Belize. And there's always need, as you know, to look at things and make adjustments as we go along. But I can say this: we have great, competent people that can make sure that we are able to move this ship in the right direction. I have all confidence in Dr. Julio Sabido as my CEO, who I have seen been very passionate about his work, diligent, and very straightforward, I can tell you, in terms of moving where we want to go as a ministry. And we have great technical people who has the passion for health in this country. And it trickles right down. You see, once we are able to have that level of respect and communication between ourselves, it trickles down to what we want at the end, which is to provide quality care for our Belizean people. And I keep saying this to my team, we must provide that level of respect for everyone, because with that type of support, then comes the type of customer service we expect to be issued to the Belizean people whenever they visit our facility. And so I really want to thank all of our partners in development, Isani and April, for the support that they have given to Belize, the support that they have given to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and they continue to do so. And the commitment from our Prime Minister, the commitment from this cabinet, the commitment from this government in ensuring that we invest in health through the rollout of NHI. I mean, NHI will bring a lot more benefits to our Belizean people. What we're doing now, we're going to roll out in our Orange district. We are expanding the numbers of persons who will have access to NHI in the south side. In Corozal, we recently did launch the NHI clinic in Shonush. That benefits the Corozal district, which is considered, in fact, in the statistics, second poorest district or the poorest district. I mean, you know, we have to find ways, and government is finding ways to ensure that we bring quality care to our Belizean people, and NHI is exactly going to do that. And when we roll out NHI across this country, many thousands upon a Belizean will have access to these services.
Well said.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for having joined us, Minister. We've come to the end of our segment. It was a pleasure having you online with us to be able to share the details of the SI and, of course, what this means to the Belizean public. Thanks once again.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and God bless, and continue to be safe, Belizeans.
Thank you so much, Minister. And with that, we are going to take another break. And when we come back, we will have our friends from the U.S. Embassy talk to us about financial literacy. So stick around for that.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere. Satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
Introducing MyBabelize.com. Your best solution in home appliances is now one click away. With countrywide delivery, it's easier now than ever to go Mabe. www.mabebelize.com. Enjoy life easier with countrywide delivery.
The Belize City Council's Traffic Department hereby informs the general public of the impending commencement of the Parking Meters Pilot Project as of Monday, April 4th, 2022. As we go through this one-year pilot project, here's what residents need to know. Starting Monday, April 4th, 2022, those conducting business within the following areas are to make use of the parking meters provided by the Belize City Council. Areas include Newtown Barracks from the exit of Ramada by Wyndham Princess Belize City to Midtown Restaurant. Albert Street from its intersection with Orange Street to its intersection with Dean Street. To ensure a seamless transitionary period, parking meter assistance will be available in these areas to provide assistance to the general public. Likewise, the Council will continue to provide updates through notices and education campaigns within the upcoming weeks to properly sensitize the public on how to use these newly installed devices. Residents are encouraged to participate in the Parking Meters public meeting on April 7th, 2022. Your Belize City Council, always about the people.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Déjame mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
In the last decade, Belize has risen to become one of the Caribbean's most popular tourist destinations. From beautiful beaches to lush jungles, vibrant cultures and people, and breathtaking World Heritage sites, Belize has it all.
Hi, I'm Angela from Belizing.com, and this is the Belizing Tourism Innovation Lab project.
Don't miss the virtual launch of the Belizing Tourism Innovation Lab project on Monday, April 4th at 8:30 p.m. right here on Channel 5. Tune in and become aware of how this project will positively impact and transform the tourism and economic sectors of Belize.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, Promote your products or services. Promote a business opportunity. Increase traffic to your website and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
This morning. I am so happy for this conversation because in studio we have Dr. Carl Bob and Mr. Adam Benz, who are going to be here talking to us a little bit about the U.S. Embassy in partnership with the Peace Work in Belize to talk about the financial literacy program for primary school students in Southside Belize City. Joining us via Zoom, we have two students, Devon Maivit and Alyssa Escalante, along with the principal of the Unity Presbyterian School, Dalila Makwani. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know they're in studio, but you're over there on the other side. But we can't have everybody. It's too small of a set, so sorry, and thank you so much for joining us this morning, everybody. So a little bit about the partnership and just the financial literacy program in general. Why this program? What was the inspiration?
The inspiration, in my opinion, is that as a result of the pandemic, we have come to the realization that financial literacy is needed now more than ever. As we all know, the pandemic, due to the pandemic, many persons have lost their jobs. Many of them, even if they had savings, they had to use up their savings. So it's needed, and I think we want to start to teach our children from a very young age the importance of savings. As a teacher, I can tell you the optimum time to teach any new concept, any new idea to any student is between the ages of 0 to 8, so that it becomes habit forming. And so I want to thank the United States Embassy, in particular, Adam Benz, who has been so supportive of this program. And I mean, we have become close friends because of his enthusiasm, along with Shadell and Fidel. So I want to thank them that the students from 3 Southside schools, mainly St. John's Anglican, St. John's Vianney, Unity Presbyterian, are now able to make better financial savings, decisions, sorry.
Let's talk a little bit about what the program entails.
So we were so excited when Dr. Bob shared her vision with us because it is exactly what we want to do. We know that financial literacy at a young age changes the directions of young people's lives, but we also know it transforms communities as well. Because it creates a foundation for people to save, to invest in their neighborhoods, and to actually create employment and to create better opportunities. So we chose specific neighborhoods, and we really chose these 3 schools because we felt they had the ability for maximum impact. I think 90% of the students at both schools actually come from lower income backgrounds, and most of the students that are there have the interest of having a better future. They all have stories, and what I think was fascinating is every one of them has a goal, and that was part of the idea. Is the program is basically over a 3-month program. We help people identify, well, what is it that you want? What do you want to do to change your life? And how can you go about saving? How can your savings help you reach your goal? How can you use your money wisely? How can you manage a budget? These seem complicated, but they're not really. And they actually are transformative. So each of the students was able to set their own target. And I think the really incredible things is some of the students, in fact, some of the students here today actually are achieving things that they maybe never thought were possible. So for us, this was, I can't imagine a program we're more proud to support. And I think this is probably one of those programs I think will really make an impact, not just for the students themselves, but for their communities and maybe for the generations to come, basically.
I think what's interesting here is that when you look at the generational differences, perhaps when we were growing up, we weren't taught financial literacy. It's something that we learned on our own going up, and it's based on a trial and error basis, right? Where we make certain mistakes when it comes to, you know, planning, budgeting, spending,
taxes,
and what have you, versus now being able to expose students at a very young age to what it means to be financially responsible, what it means to understand how important finances are and expenditure and what have you.
I agree, and I think one of the things that was most inspiring for me, and these are some of the things we learned just from the students themselves, was the ways in which obstacles get put up in the life of students.
Yeah.
And that sometimes having better financial literacy skills can help smooth some of the obstacles. How sometimes students have a disadvantage going to high school because, for instance, they don't have tablets, they have to work on their parents' smartphone for something. So saving at a young age gives them an advantage going into high school that can maybe have them have a better experience and then have a better job coming out of that. And all these things are connected to each other. And it is one step, it is one tool, it is not the only solution, but it's an important tool to get us to the next step to prosperity, basically.
I just want to mention that also that we had like 3 main objectives. We wanted the children to become financially literate, of course. We wanted them to open savings account.
Yeah.
When I met the students, only about 2% of the students had savings account. I'm very happy to share that we have 47% of students now with savings account, and we have challenged them, and I told them I'm going to come back and check with their principals that they save regularly, at least once a month, whatever they can afford. We have also taught them the value of work.
Yeah.
So, so the students, in the book that I wrote, Jacita Learns to Save, it's about a little boy who wanted a tablet. And he said, how am I going to buy a tablet? And the grandmother said, well, you have to work. He said, how can I work? And so we are teaching the students that yes, even at your age, you can work. You can identify trusted family members to do chores. And I think that is what Devon did. He found chores, he found little jobs here and there, and he was able to save the $50 that he needed to open the savings account.
Then let's get Devon and Alyssa into the conversation then. Devon, Alyssa, what has this program done for you so far, and what do you think that you can take away from it?
Let's go first, Devon.
Yes, since then, Tapo, you first.
This program was good to me because it teaches me about needs and wants and how to budget money.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, let's go over to Alyssa.
It has taught me what SMART goals are and how to set my own goals, how to budget properly, and I have even set my own goal for my birthday.
Oh, what's your goal for your birthday?
To buy myself my own tablet.
Okay, when's your birthday?
September 16th.
So we'll be checking back you in on September 16th.
Exactly.
Then,
That's a good challenge.
Let's have Ms. Dalila talk to us a little bit about the changes that she has seen in the students. How effective do you think this program is for the students moving forward?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Well, first of all, it was challenging as we entered the class and we start about saving, investing, and sharing. Our students were like, how are we going to share and invest if we don't have? They didn't have no saving. So we brainstormed with them, taught them the budget, we taught them about investment, and we also taught them on how they can start their own business. So we started by giving them the support, encouraging them that yes, they can. And we started with simple banana shake. We didn't have a lot to invest, but simply with $1 banana and 2 carnations, and somebody donated a lot of milk, and that's how we started. And this showed the child that okay, from $2 you can make $10. And that's how we started. And then I saw that the students were motivated. At first, they even felt ashamed to go from class to sell or to ask teachers to give them a little job to do. But then this have changed. This mentality have changed already in them, and I'm so happy about that, because then I want the students from Belize to be critical thinkers, to don't be afraid to go and invest, to challenge themselves. As Belizeans, we teach them a lot about math, but then we don't teach them the aspect of finance. So that's something that I embrace, and I love the program, and I have already seen these changes in my students. When they had their market day, they were eager to see what was the profit that they made, and some of them were really happy. They made very good profit. Some of them did not, and it was a learning experience for them. And so the changes, there's a lot that we have already seen in 3 months.
Devon, Alyssa, how old are you guys?
Miss, I'm 13 years old.
You're 13? And what classes are you guys in?
Standard 6.
Standard 6. When they first came to you with big words like budget and investment and finances, how did that make you think when it came to the workforce or savings or money? What did you think about that at first?
This I think about the program is just about money.
Right.
I thought that it was just about money as well, and how we can make money easily, and ways how to get jobs.
Okay. And now, what is your thought?
I learned how to get a job. I even have my own business now.
Okay. And Devon?
Miss, it do me good because I opened my bank account and enough and save my $50. And it means more to me than first at the beginning of the program.
You said something about differentiating between wants and needs. What did you mean by that?
Miss, I mean that you don't buy anything what you want, you have to buy things what you need.
First, right?
First. So what is it that you needed at first?
First, I needed to find a job so I could save up the money.
How did you find a job?
Like all the virus is here, I thought it would be good to help out the teachers.
How did you help out your teachers?
Well, I went wrong and asked them if they want I could sweep up their class or put something in the library for them and do errands around the compound.
Okay. And they pay you good?
Yes, Mom.
All right. What about you, Alyssa?
I had different jobs. I worked for my aunt, helping her clean her house, and I sold chips and dips.
Okay. You make nice chips and dip? You make nice chips and dip?
Yes, ma'am.
What does this teach you guys overall about financial responsibility, though? Because while you've spoken about being able to save, being able to open your own account, what does this mean for you in terms of setting certain goals and understanding how important it is to realize these goals? Let's go to Devon.
It started to me, financial literacy means so much because I'm kind of in a debt.
What is debt?
That's the one like you borrow money and you can't pay it back.
All right. And what about yourself, Alyssa?
The financial literacy has taught me how to avoid financial pitfalls and how to budget my money properly.
So I mean, we keep coming back to the program and how it has helped them, and clearly, they're very bright and intelligent kids, and I hope that they keep up everything that they've taught. How did you come about starting the program? So what are the measures that were taken into the program? So I want to get into the details of that.
Sure, we can start. I mean, I think one of the things that was fascinating, we'd discussed this for quite a while about how to best approach the program. I think that there's a moment, an aha moment in every child's life, and I think we've had it with both these kids, but with a lot of other kids, where you see that this is not something that other people do, but something that you can do. So we structure the program in such a way that the different steps of the process, including going to, we found a credit union where they can create a bank account. That moment is a transformative moment in a way, because it's no longer an idea or something you read in a book or on paper, but something you have. And I think that there's a moment, and I think Dr. Bob can speak to this quite well, with every child, where suddenly it's not just something that they're hearing in class, but something that they're doing for their life. So we try to structure every step of the process like a person would do to go through the stages of financial literacy. And so that was no longer, like you said, these big ideas, but rather something doable, achievable. And I think that's the most important thing, because what I think the challenge for a lot of people is when you feel like, well, this is something I know that some people do and it works out for them, but I've never seen anyone do it. I don't know anyone who does these things. Now you're that person who does these things. And Dr. Bob was telling me that in some cases, the family comes back and opens up an account as well. And then the child actually inspires the family and the parents to create their own account. And that to me is truly inspiring. I think that's how you really see an impact that goes far beyond just the students themselves. Dr. Bob, I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
So one of the things, like I remember earlier, you mentioned, Isani, that why it didn't happen for you when you were younger, why it didn't happen for us. But imagine if we were taught goal setting, our lives would be different. These students, they are asked, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve in life? Devan wanted to achieve, he wants to achieve a tablet. Melissa does too. Alyssa does too. So we are teaching them how it is possible. This has impacted not only them, but their teachers. They are teachers listening when I go there and I teach, because I actually do the teaching. And I remember one of the teachers from St. John said, Miss Bob, where were you 10, 20 years ago when I needed you? That's what the teacher said. And the teacher said, if I had this training, my life would be different.
Absolutely.
Because as children growing up in Belize, whenever we were given money, what was the first thing we did? Find one shop.
Buy junk food.
And go and spend it. Now we are teaching children to learn to save a portion of whatever they earn. We also, a part of the curriculum that we taught them was entrepreneurship. Identify what you are good at. So there was one little boy from St. John's Vianney. He's a good artist. And so he made greeting cards. And we had a market day where they expose or display their talent. And he made greeting cards and he sold them at $3 each.
This is empowerment, though.
It's empowering. And then at Miss Dalila's school, I think it's Alyssa and another little girl, they made panades.
So how did you select the schools to do the financial program? And are you going to continue to do this training across the country?
Well, as the former chief education officer, I know the data, I know about the outside schools, I know the needs of schools, I know which schools need this kind of empowerment, as Isani said, so it was easy for me to identify them. Financial literacy is also a part of the primary school curriculum. This program was exposed to me by PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers from the United States, and under my leadership it became a part of the curriculum. But so it is there in the curriculum, but I think what we need to do is to ensure that it starts regularly and effectively.
I think the methods as well, because I clearly remember learning about finances, right? But it was in the form of a problem-solving thing, and once you see numbers, they don't the concept is a blur.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know when I got a bank account. I think it was when I had to like leave for school or something, and that was way in my 20s.
Yeah.
So the mere fact that they're able to understand that, hey, there's a space where I can put it. I don't have to, and once I don't see it, I won't spend it, because that's also an issue. They're able to have that money when they need it. How long was the program, and when will you be implementing it again?
Well, I can speak about that a little bit. I would say it's been a 3-month program, but it's actually in a way, and you asked about why we chose Southside Belize City. A lot of our programming that Public Affairs has been working in has been dedicated to Southside Belize City, because we do believe that this is an integrated issue that many different aspects, which is creating entrepreneurship, creating opportunities for former gang members to be able to create new lives for themselves, helping students who get the ideas and see, as you said, that these are not just ideas, but things people can do. So when we talked about the schools, I listened to Dr. Bob's expertise, because I wanted to know where are the schools where students may have least likely have seen people safe, may at least likely have seen this in practice, so that they could be the change themselves. They can be the practice. And so I think that for us, I think that the 3-month program, yes, it was a 3-month program of education, but it's also a 3-month program of mindset changing. And I think when we talk about the next phase, this is all part of our goal on how we want to engage with everything in the future. We will make sure financial literacy is a part of what we do in programs in the future. We're going to be working with Dr. Bob in the future, there's no question. But our thought is, like, we know that all of these problems are interrelated, and we know that it's not just Southside Belize City, and we know that there are other communities affected too. Our question is, how do we maximize impact? And I think that's one thing I can see that when we're going to be looking at, when we're designing the program again, we're looking at the data, because also a big decision was, what are the measurables that are going to come out of this? Are we going to see real change? And once we see that change, how do we then expand that change to other communities? So we will have a new version of this, but we're going to be looking at the data first and saying, well, what was effective, what was not? And then how can we expand this responsibly, so we're not just trying to, get, lightning in a bottle again, but actually have something that has an achievement. So there will be a new version of this, but it's going to be looking at what works and what doesn't, and how we can make it bigger. So
there's also a famous quote that I like to share, and I was sharing with Adam. I read a lot about financial literacy, and I think it was 2 weeks ago, the governor of Florida has made it mandatory that all students leaving tertiary must be exposed to financial literacy. And there's this quote that says that students spend 16 years, which includes a bachelor's degree, in school to teach them how to get jobs and earn big money. But nobody has taught them how to save it and keep it.
And spend it wisely.
And spend it wisely. And make financial smart decisions. So the program is called Money Smart, because we want to teach the children how to be money smart.
Devon, Lisa, is there anything that you would like to say to the viewers out there about what this program has taught you, and what do you have to say to the students that would like to learn more about financial literacy?
For me, I would tell the viewers out there to be financial literacy. It's a good thing, and it will help you throughout your life.
Alyssa?
I would like to say that the viewers should make sure that they spend their money wisely and think smart. Don't buy your wants, buy your needs.
And Principal Makwani?
Well, I would encourage all students to join the financial program. They will gain a lot. They will learn about saving. They will actually have a saving account, which is something that will help them in their life. They will also learn to invest and to use your money wisely. So I would encourage every viewer, every parents, and children to join the program.
All right, is there any final words from you guys in respect of this program and where you intend to see it going in the future?
Well, for me, again, I want to thank the United States Embassy for their support to my nonprofit organization. and particularly Adam and what he has shared and how the support he has given to me. But I believe that we need to ensure that the students who are most deserving, students who are living in hardship areas, that they should be exposed to financial literacy so that they can have a better future for themselves. Because many times these children get money, but they are not taught what to do with it. Yeah. And so they make wrong decisions. And through this financial literacy program, we teach them to make goals. And we encourage them that one of your goals should always be education. Yeah. And when you are financially literate and you make your goal, you can start planning, because we teach them that money is earned. So how can you start to save towards your education? Yeah. And in the song, JC to Save, we want them to develop financial independence so that they don't have to be begging. We want to get rid of this this behavior where we are going to beg somebody. Yeah. Or my son is going to school, Isani, can you help me? Yeah. Your child starts school, that's the time you start saving towards that goal.
And I guess from my perspective, I want to thank Dr. Bob for her vision, and I wish there were 1 million Dr. Bobs, not just in Belize, but around the world, because I think it would make a huge difference. But I also think that we are proud to partner with this, but I'd also like to issue a challenge to the business community and to others. The students here are investing in themselves and in their future. I think they deserve it. I think they deserve this. I think we deserve to also invest in them as well. Yeah. And it's not just something the U.S. Embassy does or anyone else does, it's something that everyone can do. Because if we're working together, part of it, we all can contribute to making a better life for this generation that will make a better life for the entire country. So it's worth it.
Well said. We want to thank you, all of you. Thank you to Alyssa and Devon and Principal Makwane for joining us. Thank you so much, Dr. Bob. Thank you so much, Adam. With that, we're going to take our final break and we'll be back for a wrap-up.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include Cath Lab, Adult Intensive Care Unit, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo Messi! What an incredible strike from Leo Messi! Neymar and Messi is standing over this. Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo
Great entertainment stays with you, and we bring you great entertainment. Next Gen, the ultimate digital experience.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
And we are back and ready to wrap up. We would like to thank you all for tuning in this morning. We'd like to thank our guests, Honorable Minister Kevin Bernard, and our friends from the U.S. Embassy, Adam Benz, Dr. Carl Bob, who is Director of Peace Work, and of course the students that came in to talk about what they've learned and experienced during the financial literacy program. Honestly, I really hope that that continues. And again, thank you to our viewers. You tuned in, you opened your eyes, and you started your morning right with us. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always shoot us an email at oye@channel5belize.com, or our social medias on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. We like to tune in tomorrow.
When you open your eyes to start your morning right.
Yes, and remember, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a good day, Belize. We'll see you soon.
Make a budget, Chesito, make a budget and save, so you can buy the things you need. Don't have to beg nobody. Save Chesito, save your money, save Chesito, save. Save Chesito, save your money, save Chesito, save. Save hard for your education. Save so you can. For your relaxation, save the seed, save your money, save the seed, save the seed, save your money, save the seed, save. When you get paid, save part of it. Save your money for when needed. Save the seed, save your money, save the seed, save. Save the seed, save your money, save the seed, save. Make a goals and save, Jessito. Make a goals and save. Make a budget, Jessito. Make a budget and save, so you can buy the things you need. Don't have to beg nobody. Save the seed, save your money, save Decido, save. Save Decido, save your money, save Decido, save. Make your goals and save Decido, make your goals and save. Make a budget, Decido, make a budget and save, so you can buy the things you.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.